Competitive Pokemon memes are known for being absolutely absurd and at times incomprehensible. This gives them a sense of mysterious charm, and people outside the competitive Pokemon community have a strange fondness for these ridiculously specific memes that look like pure nonsense from the outside. Today I've assembled various competitive Pokemon memes, and I will do my best to explain what they're trying to convey, as well as ranking them on a tier list, based on my opinion of their comedic and artistic value. And thank you, by the way, to the Reddit user Lava2Can, who put together this very detailed document analyzing competitive Pokemon memes and linking to their origins. This was a useful resource for gathering various memes. Thank you for that. Let's get right into it, why don't we? First up, we have a famous competitive Pokemon meme that is difficult to sum up in a single sentence as there are various complex elements at play within the piece. The centerpiece of the meme is Tyranitar, of course, whose face resembles the meme image of a little yellow emoji man who is screaming and saying, "Let's freaking go," in a moment of pure emotion and hype. Inside of Tyranitar's body, there is an X-ray that appears to show Houndstone within his body, a dog, with a red circle around it, a red arrow humorously emphasizing that he has that dog in him, as they say. Pictured also is a green arrow next to a Smogon tiering update wherein Tyranitar rose from the RU tier to the UU tier. There is also a battle log here where Tyranitar has used knockoff against a Dragapult and removed its life orb with the move knockoff, which removes an item. Dragapult is pictured resembling the sad crying SpongeBob meme image, which is quite humorous, I think. And the life orb in question that has been knocked off has flown upwards into the basketball hoop, also signifying Tyranitar's triumph. The main theme of this meme here is that Tyranitar, a former competitive staple in Pokemon, one of the greatest Pokemon of all time, is back on the rise. If you aren't aware, in Gen 9, Tyranitar has had a rough experience due to metagame shifts, and kind of fell off for the first time, but this all the way down to the RU tier, in fact, at a certain point, which was quite a shock to many competitive players used to Tyranitar being a top meta threat. So when Tyranitar rose from RU to UU, which is the second best tier in the game, there was a bit of hope for Tyranitar fans, which this meme reflects very well, I think. Why is Houndstone inside of Tyranitar? Well, part of the reason is because he's got that dog in him, of course, which is a phrase that people use to express that he's still got some fight left in him. It is not over. The goat is not washed, we can say. And the Houndstone choice is because Houndstone is a Pokemon that used to be used alongside Tyranitar in the initial Gen 9 OU metagame. Houndstone has the ability Sand Rush, which grants double speed in the sand, and Tyranitar sets the sand. Houndstone also had the powerful move Last Respect, which was incredibly broken. Houndstone is no longer able to use Last Respect as the move was banned, but there is an association between the two Pokemon, and perhaps the dog that represents Tyranitar at his ultimate power in Gen 9 is still inside of him, a bit of a double entendre within the meme image. Now, why is Dragapult depicted as the sad SpongeBob? It's a great question. It's because Dragapult has a poor matchup against Tyranitar. Tyranitar gains a special defense boost in the sand that it itself creates, which helps it defend against Dragapult's special attacks. Tyranitar also has a ghost resistance, and knockoff deals incredible damage to Dragapult. In Gen 8, Tyranitar rose up partially as a response to Dragapult, and in Gen 9, a similar thing is happening. So where would I rank this absurd meme? I think that there's nowhere else to rank this one but S tier. This one is an all-time great. And I think it's aged well considering Tyranitar's continued rise in OU, even returning back to OU status in the recent tier shift. The meme is hilarious with ridiculous imagery. I like Tyranitar's face. He's screaming. He's got some fight left in him. He has taken the life orb from Dragapult and dunked it into the hoop. There is so much going on in this image. It is a true work of art. A masterpiece, I think. And a great start to the video, wouldn't you say? Up next we have a meme image that is humorously depicting a funny trick that the Pokemon Clefable can pull, and a way for this trick to be revealed in a battle. The first thing that occurs in the meme is a Pokemon Showdown battle text wherein Landorus has used knockoff against a Clefable, revealing that its item was heavy-duty boots. Below this we have SpongeBob as Landorus Theory, and very humorous, very good. who says, "Hey, this MF got them fake magic guards." And then pictured below we have Squidward as Clefable wearing heavy-duty boots, running away from the move Toxic in response to this. Now, what could all of this mean? Well, heavy-duty boots is an item in Pokemon that grants immunity to entry hazards. So what this Clefable was doing was pretending to have the ability Magic Guard by equipping heavy-duty boots. Magic Guard is one of Clefable's abilities that grants a complete immunity to all indirect damage. So Clefable with Magic Guard doesn't need heavy-duty boots, it's already immune to hazards. But this Clefable was running the other ability Clefable can have, Unaware, which is also a good ability. Unaware provides an immunity to the bonus damage from stat boosts and can be good to defeat boost sweepers. So if a Clefable with Unaware switches in and doesn't take damage from entry hazards, the opponent would just assume that they're Magic Guard Clefable, because that's what usually happens. But in this scenario, Knockoff revealed that the item was heavy-duty boots, and therefore, Clefable is revealed to be not Magic Guard, and as a result, it can be affected by the move Toxic, and have poison applied to it to deal damage to it. If it was Magic Guard Clefable, it would be immune to poison, but this is not Magic Guard Clefable, and now Squidward Clefable here with its boots is running away from the Toxic, because his dastardly trick has been figured out by SpongeBob Landorus-Therian. Another layer to this meme is that I believe the original SpongeBob image this is based on was one where he is exposing Squidward for having some fake shoes. And in this instance, the fake Magic Guards refer to the heavy-duty boots, which do fake having the ability Magic Guard. So it's a multi-layered meme. It's quite intellectual, actually. I would give this meme a solid A+ ranking. Well executed, doesn't feel forced. Pretty funny, and it's a cool Pokemon interaction as well. It's got a lot going for it. Not quite as good as the S-tier Tyranitar meme, though. Up next, we have a bug-themed meme, a multi-panel comic by the artist Beetle Moses. In the first panel, we have the bug-type Pokemon Ariados, Shuckle, and Galvantula lounging around in what appears to be a waiting room, with expressions of defeat and discontent upon their faces. At the top left of the image it says Gen 6, representing that this is taking place in Generation 6 of Pokemon. In the next panel, bursting through the door comes the Pokemon Leavanny, with urgent news. And what Leavanny says is that we can make webs sticky. All the bug types that previously looked so defeated are now listening intently to Leavanny's words. In the final panel, Galvantula is the focal point, and he says simply, "You're joking." What could this mean? What is this mysterious story being told? Well, historically speaking, bug types are a pretty terrible Pokemon type. They have a lot of weaknesses. They're weak to rock, meaning they take stealth rock damage every time they switch in. And offensively, they're not that great either, with many types resisting bug. Also, a lot of bug types tend to be early game Pokemon with bad stats. So bugs have a reputation for just not really doing anything in competitive. But that was until Gen 6 came around, where the new move Sticky Web was introduced to the series. And Sticky Web is a new entry hazard, mostly only used by bug types. And this entry hazard will cause the opponent to lose one stage of speed every single time they switch in. This is a really good entry hazard that enhances offensive strategies, making it so you move first most of the time, because every time the opponent switches in, they lose speed. Access to Sticky Web made the Pokemon Shuckle a genuinely viable Pokemon in competitive, because it has Sturdy to live a hit from full and then make Sticky Web to enhance offense. Sticky Web generally buffed all bug types by a lot. Just having Sticky Web was a big deal. And most non-bug Pokemon don't get the move. So this image is humorously depicting a scene wherein these bug types that look hopeless, like they have no future ahead of them whatsoever, are informed of the good news that they can now make webs sticky, which is going to give them combat value for the first time ever. I would put this meme in A+. I quite like it. The drawing style is cute. I like the way that the bug types here are characterized. I especially enjoy Shuckle sitting there with cross-legged, weird bug limbs that it has. Very good depiction of Shuckle. And Galvantula also awkwardly sitting with its spider legs in that couch is quite fun as well. And Leavanny bursting into the room, frantically informing the other bugs of the news, was also well depicted. Here we have a meme with some artwork of Mega Beedrill, created by the Reddit user Distinct Hamster. Mega Beedrill is depicted in black and white with a menacing stare about it, quite frightening. And on the meme image is text reading, "I do not store, I do not hazard, I do not balance. I min-max, and if I don't sweep, then I don't win." This meme is basically just a description of what Mega Beedrill does. It is a highly min-maxed version of Beedrill, where all of its stats are distributed primarily to attack and speed. It is an offensive glass cannon that dies very easily, but while it's in, it will probably outrun and threaten many things. At least that's how it's designed. In practice, Mega Beedrill actually struggles to do even that, due to its poor matchup to common physical walls in OU. The text is also a reference to the Ratatouille character Anton Ego, who says similar things about how he loves food or something. "I do not like food, I love it, and if I don't love it, I don't swallow." Something like that. I think that's what it was. Great film, Ratatouille. I have to say, there's a lot of memes in this format with "I do not X, I do not Y," referencing this Ratatouille meme. And if I'm being honest, I think it's a little bit forced. Like, you just put some words into the meme format and call it a day. All this meme is really depicting is just the fact that Mega Beedrill is a min-maxed physical sweeper with the Ratatouille speech as a means to do so. I enjoy the artwork of Mega Beedrill. I think that element is good. But the joke doesn't quite land for me. It's just fitting things into a format rather than being an organic joke that is making a funny observation or having something absurd about it that makes me laugh. This is about as good as saying, "Keep calm and Mega Beedrill," or "The real Mega Beedrill is the friends we made along the way," or something like that. These forced jokes where you just replace a line with whatever you want to talk about. And there's not really a joke there, so regrettably I'm going to have to put this one. I'll say the C tier, because I do enjoy the image of Mega Beedrill, but I do not enjoy the joke of the image. Up next, we've got one of those Schrodinger's cat memes. This is a funny meme format that I enjoy sometimes. Schrodinger's cat is some sort of scientific theory where, theoretically, you place a cat into a box, and there is a vial of poison in the box that will, at a random time, break open, resulting in the cat's unfortunate demise. The idea is that, until you observe within the box, you don't know whether the cat is alive or dead. Observation is what illuminates that, and so therefore, the cat is both alive and dead at the same time. I think that the purpose of Schrodinger's cat was to make sense of electrons or something. I'm not a scientist. I don't know about scientific things. Something like that. Because electrons can be in two different states and you don't know until you look at them with a magnifying glass. That's it. That's what it is, Jimothy. Very smart. Very good. Anyway, the meme image here is a twist on the Schrodinger's cat thought experiment involving the Pokemon Iron Valiant, a Pokemon known for having a ridiculously vast move pool with a million different possible options. In this image, the scientist speech bubble says, "I don't know if Iron Valiant is Choice Specs, or Choice Band, or Choice Scarf, or Life Orb, or Booster Energy, or Swords Dance, or Expert Belt, Calm Mind, or Destiny Bond until I watch inside the box. The Iron Valiant from inside the box then uses the move Encore." And in the subsequent speech bubble, the scientist says, "I don't know if," again, suggesting that he has been hit by the move Encore and forced to repeat what he just said again, in a humorous turn of events. The intent of this meme is basically to convey that Iron Valiant's set variety is so vast that you really don't know what it's going to do, and it's probably going to use some option that even you didn't expect when mapping out all the possible options. I would put this meme in the A tier. It is following a formula that I think is kind of overdone, the Schrodinger's cat one, but it's a good usage of that meme formula that fits well with what Iron Valiant is, which is a Pokemon with a million different possible sets, which fits with the Schrodinger's cat thing, and then the twist of Encore making the scientist repeat himself is rather funny. So I would give this an A tier ranking. Up next, we've got this one, Live Wo-Chien Reaction, which is a very famous one. You've probably seen it before. I believe the Pokemon Twitter account posted this one to their main page, showing that the meme is very well known. It depicts Wo-Chien having a live reaction to something, and that's about it. There's not really much to this one, to be honest. Wo-Chien sort of has like a blank stare. Perhaps it's a reaction image that you post when someone has said something weird, or Perhaps the live Wo-Chien reaction is response to a bug type attack, because Wo-Chien's times 4 weak to bug. So when Scizor uses U-turn, you hit them with the live Wo-Chien reaction, as Wo-Chien has a look in his eyes, a somber look, accepting his fate, as he embraces the void. A lot of people dislike this meme just because it's so overused. It sort of makes sense. It is a reaction image, so it has the virality aspect. You can share it around and use it in response to things, exposing it further to more people and leading to it spreading rapidly. I do think, though, that personally I find it quite compelling. I don't know why. Maybe I just have a fondness for Wo-Chien. I like the ancient snail creature with the facial expression he's making. I like what he's conveying in his reaction. I feel like his eyes are telling a story that 1,000 words could not. So my personal opinion is that live Wo-Chien reaction is a good meme. Perhaps it's a bit of a simple one, but I'd give it the respect of an A tier. I think it would deserve such a ranking. What do you think? A lot of people hate live Wo-Chien reaction, understandably, but I enjoy it. Up next, we have an image depicting a very upset-looking Ditto, who has the hidden ability Imposter Syndrome. This Pokemon does not trust his own capabilities, and is unable to use Transform. This is a riff on the fact that Ditto's regular hidden ability is called Imposter, and it will instantly transform Ditto into the opposing Pokemon. Imposter Syndrome is quite a common phenomenon where, upon achieving something noteworthy, you feel as if this achievement is somehow fake and that you are an imposter and it's not real. A struggle in accepting that you have done something noteworthy. Having imposter syndrome about your ability to be an imposter of another Pokemon is certainly a can of worms, isn't it? I can see why Ditto was confused about the scenario. I think I'd give this one an A tier. It's a simple joke, but the sad Ditto image is cute. And it's fairly well executed. I actually don't know who drew this, because the Reddit user seemed to have deleted their account or something. It just says deleted. So I don't know who created this sad Ditto, but I appreciate the image. Up next is the famous Arceus Steel meme, which I have covered in the competitive Pokemon Iceberg, actually. But I'll explain it again here. It's a simple one. This meme shows a battle screenshot where an Arceus flying is nicknamed Arceus Steel as a trick. The opponent uses Earthquake, thinking that they're fighting Arceus Steel, and because they're actually Arceus flying, they're immune to Earthquake, and the trick was successful. A lot of people really love this one. It's one of the most famous competitive Pokemon memes. I've never found it that humorous, though, personally. Maybe just because I feel like nicknaming your Pokemon the name of another Pokemon is the oldest trick in the book, and it's not actually that impressive of a trick. I think the funniest part of the image is probably the battle chat where Basemaster 6000 says ruse in all caps, very enthusiastic about the ruse that has been pulled. Other than that, though, I don't know. I don't really like this one. Just subjectively, I guess. If you like it, more power to you. But I would probably put this one in the D tier. Just personally. Not that fond of it. Up next, we have an image wherein Tyranitar is absolutely basking in victory. Pictured in front of the United States, where every single state of America has voted for Tyranitar in an absolute landslide. I think this one is pretty funny on its own merits, but it's also used in response to any positive news whatsoever about Tyranitar's viability or Tyranitar's dominance. As I said before, Tyranitar has a reputation for being one of the strongest competitive Pokemon of all time. And people like Tyranitar. It's a beloved Pokemon. I think that this meme captures the spirit of public perception of Tyranitar. If he did really exist, I think that this would be the result of the election. He would win with a landslide. 0 votes for anybody else. Unbelievable. I think this one is an A+ tier meme, personally. Up next, we've got this absolute monstrosity. This is an amalgamation of various powerful defensive Pokemon combined into one freak of a creature. Absolute freak of a creature. The elements, of course, contain Blissey. Blissey is probably the most obvious one to see here. But Blissey has the face of Pyukumuku, another infamous defensive Pokemon. The head tendrils, if that's what they are, of Toxapex. The Salt Pyramid of Garganacl is in there. We've got Wo-Chien's tail, Corviknight's wings. The bottom of the Blissey is a Forretress. Rotom Wash's washing machine door is in there in the middle. Even the mushroom Pokeball thing of Amoonguss is on the left there. On the bottom, it's Ferrothorn sticking out, the vines of Ferrothorn. Amazingly, they've also squeezed in the tail of Slowbro at the back. I think that is everything, unless I've missed another Pokemon in here. That's all of them, Did I mention Tinglu? The Tinglu head? I think I did. I suppose it's pretty funny. It's a visually disgusting image, which is the intent, to convey the disgusting creature that this would be, combining all of these frustrating defensive Pokemon. I suppose if I were to rank it, I would put it in the B tier. It's kind of simple in what it's trying to convey, but it gets it across. It's not making me laugh out loud or anything, but I can admire the artistic vision here. Up next, we've got another illustrated meme by Reddit user Chang_E. In the first panel, there is a dragon dance with maximum boosts, 4 times attack, 4 times speed, who says, "I set up 6 dragon dances," with a frustrated look in his eyes. And in the second panel is a Clodsire with a goofy expression wearing some heavy-duty boots, who says, "Nuh-uh," defying the fact that this Roaring Moon has any boosts at all. This is a reference to the fact that Clodsire has the ability Unaware, which is an ability that ignores enemy boosts, or any boosts at all. It's a great ability that completely ignores any Pokemon that has wasted turns setting up attack boosts, and is one of the reasons Clodsire is so great and competitive. This is a humorous, literal depiction of the scene wherein a Clodsire is walling a boosted up Pokemon. Through sheer unawareness of the fact that they are boosted, they are impervious to the boosts. The Clodsire being pictured with boots is also just because Clodsire commonly runs the boots to be immune to hazards. I think I'd put this one in the A tier. The illustration is doing a lot of heavy lifting. Great drawing. Roaring Moon has a lot of character, as does Clodsire. I feel like I've seen the joke about Unaware a lot, though. It's kind of overdone, but this is a good rendition of it, I suppose. So I would give it the A tier. Up next is a couple of tweets screenshotted from the Super Smash Bros. Melee player Hugs86, who has also dabbled in some competitive Pokemon over the years. The tweets read, "Matched with a super cute girl on Hinge. She asked my favorite Pokemon. I said Skarmory and Blacephalon. She asked why. I then went into several paragraphs explaining competitive singles and Pokemon Showdown. The conversation died since. Moral of the story, don't play Pokemon singles. Her favorite Pokemon were all the evolutions, and I said Blacephalon. Man, what the F was I thinking?" I feel a bit sorry for Hugs that this keeps getting brought up, but I will say that it was very brave of him to openly share this and to see the humor in the scenario. And I'm very glad that he did share it, because I would give this an instant S tier. I think this is one of the funniest things I've ever heard. It's an incredible mental image, the idea that this date was going so well until you went and said that your favorite Pokemon was Blacephalon, leaving the date completely speechless in response, because this is the worst possible answer to the question. I think that of all the Pokemon you could have chosen as a response, Blacephalon might be the single funniest choice. The name Blacephalon just sounds so insane. It sounds, there's no way anyone who doesn't play competitive knows who Blacephalon is. Especially someone who just has a casual knowledge of Pokemon and knows Eevee and Piplup and stuff. So Blacephalon just sounds completely insane, and then they look it up on Google probably, and it's a weird clown with, like, doing a dance. Just the weirdest possible choice. And then to go into a diatribe about how it has Beast Boost, and when it gets a KO, it gains special attack, or it can gain speed if you EV it in a certain way. I just think that is so funny. That's so excellent. I'm going to, in fact, put this at the top of S tier, because it was a real thing that happened. And also, I want to again commend Hugs for even sharing this in the first place. He could have kept this to himself and taken it to the grave, but he shared it with the people, recognizing the humor of the situation and laughing at himself a little bit in retrospect, which is very admirable. Up next, we've got another cool illustrated meme from Reddit user M0Pan. The first element of this meme is a doubles battle wherein an Electrode outruns and eliminates a Dragapult using the move Foul Play. Then in the subsequent illustration, Dragapult, without a care in the world, looking very happy, and I love the detail, by the way, of the little dreepies with joyous looking eyes. This Dragapult says, "Oh boy, I sure love being the fastest mon in the format," until he is rudely interrupted by an Electrode, with a surprise attack from behind, with a face of pure evil and deception, who says, "Second, you're the second fastest." A pretty simple one to understand, I think. Electrode is faster than Dragapult. Dragapult is known for having the highest speed of competitively viable Pokemon, usually, or at least being one of the fastest things in both doubles and singles competitive formats. But Electrode is insanely fast. It's often forgotten how fast Electrode is. And with access to Foul Play, Electrode does have an option to outrun and hit Dragapult with super effective damage, as a little bit of a surprise counter. I think for this meme I'll create here, I'll add a row above and create a B+ tier. I'll put this in the B+ tier. I like the illustration quite a lot. I like the rendition of both Dragapult and Electrode. I don't think that the joke particularly landed that much for me, but I do appreciate this image. And I think it has artistic value. Up next is an insane one. I think this is where competitive Pokemon memes get their reputation for being completely incomprehensible. Just look at this completely bizarre image. Let's try to make sense of this step by step. At the top it says, "Not everyone will get this." A little bit of an ironic, corny Facebook meme style element there. Then it says, "Would you rather be trapped in Trick Room?" And then pictured there is Hatterene and Indeedee, who are common on Trick Room strategies in competitive doubles. "Would you rather be trapped in Trick Room for thousands of years with Mystical Fire, Psychic, Dazzling Gleam? These are attacks commonly used on Hatterene and Indeedee in Trick Room strategies. Or would you rather be trapped in pleasant Mediterranean temperate climate for thousands of years?" Should below here are the two options, Trick Room on the left and the pleasant Mediterranean climate on the right. I got no idea why a pleasant climate is being proposed here as an option. Is this the opposite of Trick Room, like a normal situation, a normal climate, versus Trick Room, which is an inverse world where slow Pokemon move first? Anyway, moving on. Next is a tweet from the Pokemon Regieleki. Regieleki's name is circled. There's an arrow pointing to it for emphasis so that you know it's him. His username is "I like extreme Trick Room conditions." With Trick Room, the showdown screenshot of the move Trick Room rather than the words Trick Room. And then he says, "I'll pick Trick Room, thanks." Then it is one of the characters from Friends saying, "Uh-oh," in a very, very cheesy looking speech bubble with, I think, Times New Roman font. And it says, "When you notice it," with a left arrow, and then down there on the right, bottom right is Amoonguss. And it says let's zoom in, enhance. "The Amoonguss in doubles OU when it hears this." Alright. So the reason for Regieleki saying all this and for there being a trick within the meme is that Trick Room is a field condition that lasts for 5 turns that inverts the speed stat. The slower Pokemon will move first. But there is a glitch wherein Regieleki, who is the fastest Pokemon in the whole game, can boost its speed up to a point where it actually still moves first even within Trick Room. There's still a glitch where Trick Room does not actually invert the speed stats in the code. It subtracts like 8,000 from the speed stat, and then by reaching a certain particular number of speed and subtracting it by 8,000, you can wrap around and break the speed calculation or something. I don't remember the specifics. I did make a video about this mechanic in another context, and I knew it then, but then I needed brain memory for other things. Other important things like the analects of Confucius and things like that, which are now stored in my brain. So forgive me for not remembering the specifics of that. But that is why Regieleki, when posed with this dichotomy, has chosen Trick Room. Even though you would think a fast Pokemon like Regieleki would rather choose the temperate climate. No, he's chosen Trick Room because he has a trick where he can boost his speed up to the point where he outruns Trick Room and can get out of this situation unexpectedly. This is why this Friends character is exclaiming and saying, "When you notice it," because this is something you have to notice through intelligence. And this is why Amoonguss is also shocked. Amoonguss, a very slow Pokemon commonly used on Trick Room strategies, because its low speed becomes an advantage in Trick Room, but then it is shocked to find that Regieleki is outspeeding it even in its home turf of Trick Room. We've done it. We've made sense of this absurd image, haven't we? I think I like this one. As I'm reading it, it's making me laugh. I like the image of the temperate climate. It's just funny looking. It's just got a funny structure to it. I like the "not everyone will get this" is a good turn of phrase. I'm going to give that an A+. I'm going to say A+ on that one. I think that's a good one. Next here we have an Incineroar meme, folks. You gotta have an Incineroar meme in here somewhere, unfortunately. Unfortunately, we do. The ubiquitous quality of Incineroar is difficult to ignore. In this meme image, we have Incineroar rendered here in beautiful detail. And he is saying, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. Intimidate, fake out, parting shot. The Reddit post for this image was made by Pixel Pro 37. I would assume they also did the art, but I'm not sure. This image just looks memeable. Maybe it's a commonly used meme image of Incineroar. I'm not sure. This one's pretty simple. I mean, this is just what Incineroar does in competitive doubles that makes it so powerful. It has the ability Intimidate, which lowers the attack by 1 stage of both opponents, which is very powerful in doubles. Just instantly nerfing the attacks out of 2 enemies is really good. Fake Out is really strong in doubles. It's a priority move that has a 100% chance to flinch. It's a bit of crowd control, so you can just fake out and prevent one of the opposing Pokemon from acting whatsoever. Very powerful. But Fake Out can only be used on the first turn that you're in, so it's a one-time use crowd control thing, unless you switch out and back in. And that's why the option of Parting Shot is so perfect, because Parting Shot is a move that will first lower the attack and special attack of the target by 1 stage, and then you will switch out. It's a pivoting move. It's perfect because it does something, then pivots you out, and then Incineroar can switch back in, intimidate both opponents again, and it has Fake Out active again to do more of that crowd control, flinching an enemy. This is the crux of what makes Incineroar so powerful. While I appreciate the illustration here, I gotta be honest, I'm not too fond of this meme, and generally I don't really like Incineroar-based memes. A lot of them just boil down to like Incineroar is really good and it clicks Fake Out. That's the joke. Perhaps there's a bit of personal bias against Incineroar from my end, affecting my enjoyment here. I do hate Incineroar. I don't like his visual design. I don't like his ever-presence in doubles. I don't like that he seeps into my comment section all the time, even though I'm talking about competitive singles primarily. And he's not relevant to many of my videos, and yet the comments bring him up anyway. And they don't bring him up for any interesting reason. It's just he's good in the game, isn't he? Let me share this knowledge with the world that Incineroar is good in competitive doubles. In unrelated contexts, let's all just yell it from the rooftops that Incineroar is a good Pokemon that has Intimidate and Fake Out. And let's all laugh as a whole, as the population of the Earth. Let's let out a roaring laugh at the fact that Incineroar is a powerful Pokemon in the doubles context. No, I'm gonna put this one actually in the... I'm getting more and more riled up as I talk about it. That's the first F tier. That's the first F tier. There's nothing there. It's an empty husk of a meme, I have to say. No offense to the creator. No offense to those who enjoy the meme. Just me personally, I see this and I feel nothing. I feel nothing except perhaps negative emotions and disdain. Up next we've got a simple one. It's the who would win meme format, with something powerful looking on the left and something unexpectedly powerful despite its appearance on the right. A tried and true format. On the left here is nigh omnipotent gods of the universe, and there is Dialga, Giratina, and Palkia pictured, and then on the right is a mere bee, Ribombee. Who would win? Well, if the criteria of winning is the ranking that these Pokemon have in the Gen 9 Uber's viability list, Ribombee would win. Because Ribombee has a higher ranking on that VR than Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. Which is one of those competitive Pokemon facts that sounds quite insane to outsiders. Ribombee is not very powerful looking, but there's an interesting reason why this is the case. You see, Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina, while they are powerful legendaries, are not really used in the Uber's format, because they are just outclassed by other legendaries. Eternatus is generally better. As a bulky dragon type, it's faster, it has better moves, recovery, a better typing as well, more fit to handle the metagame. Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina have not aged that well, actually, and aren't that great in modern Ubers. There's also Koraidon, and even Zekrom and Kyurem Black are now superior to Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina. Ribombee, though, is popular in Gen 9 Ubers as a sticky web setter. This is a sticky web setter that is pretty fast and threatens Koraidon with a one-hit KO. Because it's a fairy type, it's a bug fairy type with Moonblast. Koraidon is ×4 weak to fairy and therefore dies instantly to Moonblast. For this reason, Ribombee is more competitively viable in Gen 9 Ubers and more commonly seen than these gods of the universe, as this meme has put it. I think this is a perfectly alright meme. I'd put it in the B tier. And the next meme here is actually a riff on the meme before it, which I think is quite funny. Who would win? Dialga Primal, temporal god of the cosmos now empowered to its strongest, or a fly on the right, which is Cutie Fly, the pre-evolved form of Ribombee. Now what does this refer to? Why would Cutie Fly be better, or suggested to be better than Primal Dialga? This is referring to the Uber's UU format, which is a new format in Gen 9 that aimed to provide a home for Pokemon that are too powerful for OU but not powerful enough for Ubers. You know, those middling legendaries, like Dialga Primal is one example. I'm sorry, I'm calling him Dialga Primal. He's Dialga Origin, not Dialga Primal, forgive me. I'm saying the wrong thing with regards to Pokemon. Oh no, I've committed an unforgivable sin. Oh dear. And I've ruined my credibility as well. This is terrible. Anyway, Uber's UU is a world where there is a usage cutoff within Ubers. So the top Pokemon above 4.52% usage in Ubers are illegal in Uber's UU, and you are left with the remaining Pokemon. For this reason, Ribombee, because it has such a high usage in Ubers, is banned from Uber's UU, and therefore the next best thing is Cutie Fly. And Cutie Fly is actually pretty popular in Uber's UU as a sticky web setter, as the next best thing from Ribombee. And it is also, even in Uber's UU, more viable and more relevant than Origin form Dialga, who is just really bad. Dialga Origin is one of the worst alternate forms from a legendary ever made. The only difference is that it has slightly higher special defense, swapped with its attack stat, and you also have to hold a specific item to transform into this form, meaning your item slot cannot be used for something more useful. And the item you have to hold is kind of bad on this Pokemon. So even Cutie Fly in Uber's UU is more relevant than Dialga Origin. I think that the variation on the meme just before it makes it a little bit funnier, and I would put it in the B+ tier. Up next, we've got a bit of a classic, another illustrated meme image, and I believe this one is a parody of a comic book panel. At the top of the image, it says, neutralizing gas filled the area. Neutralizing gas is the ability of Galarian Weezing. And then Regigigas, the Pokemon Regigigas, is inhaling this neutralizing gas and saying the line, "My favorite," as he looks very cool inhaling this gas that is suggesting that it is powering him up. Neutralizing gas is the ability of Galarian Weezing, as I just mentioned. And what it does is that it disables the effects of abilities for everything on the field. For the most part, this is going to be bad for you, because abilities are usually some positive thing. But Regigigas has an ability that is a deliberate drawback. Regigigas has great stats, but its ability is slow start. And the ability slow start means that for the first 5 turns it's on the field, Regigigas has its attack stat and speed stat halved, which is very bad. It's deliberately designed as a drawback. So in the context of Regigigas, it having its ability disabled is a good thing. It does not suffer anymore from the slow start and has its normal stats that it can then abuse for a powerful advantage. And for this reason, Regigigas and Galarian Weezing are good teammates. It's a popular synergy in doubles. Regigigas benefits from the gas while the enemies are suffering from the existence of the neutralizing gas. I think I would probably put this one in the A+ tier. I think it's very good all around. A nice parody of the comic panel, very well done illustration. Oh, I forgot to mention the artist's name. FR0STLZ on Twitter, who illustrated this one. Very good work. I guess the only reason I wouldn't put it in S is because I don't find it particularly funny. It's clever, and it's well done, but it doesn't make me laugh out loud or anything. But I still think it's a classic competitive Pokemon meme, in my opinion. Up next, we got a simple one. It's the big muscular dog versus the normal dog on the right. I think it's a good meme format. I like this one, even though it's pretty overused. I tend to like this one. I don't like the Doge meme, which I think this is the Doge dog in this meme, but I do like this riff on the usage of the dog with the muscular dog versus small dog. Just a bit of meme opinions from Jim that no one asked for there. The dog meme distinctions. Anyway, this is Snorlax in Gen 2 on the left, very muscular, stating that I am a meta-defining Pokemon that is on every team in Ubers and OU. If your team doesn't have me, it's bad. Snorlax now, however, is the sad, meek, pathetic dog who says, let me back into NU, please. And in the bottom left, it was made with Mimetic. Is that a real thing, or was that added there as a joke? I don't know. It's just in a normal font. It was made with Mimetic, an important point. This meme is conveying a truth. In Gen 2, Snorlax is the best Pokemon in the game. It is a weird case where it is not only the #1 Pokemon in OU, it's the #1 Pokemon in Ubers as well. It's on every single team in both of those formats. You'd think it would be banned in OU as a result, but Gen 2 OU predates Smogon tiering, so they just never did, and it's just been that way since. But yes, Snorlax in Gen 2 has excellent stats. The move Curse, which is a really good boost for the time, and Snorlax is perfect at using Curse. It patches up its low defense, making it pretty much indestructible. It's got an incredibly vast move pool. It benefits from Gen 2's unique Rest Sleep Talk mechanics. And also, there's just a lack of good fighting type attacks to hit Snorlax super effectively. It's not worried about getting burned or statused or anything, because Rest is so good. Will-O-Wisp doesn't even exist either. So Snorlax is just an incredibly perfect Pokemon in Gen 2 specifically. It's the peak of its career. But Snorlax these days, despite being such a titan of the old competitive generations, great in Gens 1, 2, and 3, and still okay in 4, although it started to fall off there. These days, Snorlax is ranked in the absolute lowest tier possible, ZU. This means its usage isn't even high enough for the PU tier, which is dreadful. This is as bad as you can get. Normal typing has only gotten worse and worse over the years. Snorlax is just outclassed now by other bulky attackers. It used to be the best and the quintessential bulky attacker, but now there's just better options. And all of its set diversity and Curse Rest options are not what they once were. Rest Sleep Talk was obviously nerfed years ago, and Snorlax is just feeling a bit outdated in modern Gen 9. It's a shame for such an iconic and classic competitive Pokemon, but it's the unfortunate truth. I would put this meme in the B tier. I think it's okay. And the more I think about it, I think maybe we'll bump up this Blissey Toxapex Defensive Abomination to B+. It's got a bit more artistic merit, I think, as a work of arts and crafts than the memes below. We'll amend that placement. Up next, we've got a Toxapex meme. Here we have Toxapex with a funny troll face. And he says, I love my Scald. I love my Scald. Transfer time. And he's transferring to Pokemon Scarlet version. And then in the third panel, he loves his Scald, but the Scald is fading out of existence. It's a bit transparent to signify that it's going away. And in the final panel, it says, where is my Scald? And the troll face that once had a smirk of devious naughtiness is now no longer smirking. It is looking forward in a state of pure dread at the fact that, wait a minute, that which I once loved is now gone from me. This is a reference to the fact, of course, that in Gen 9, Toxapex can no longer learn the move Scald. Scald is one of the best water type attacks in the game. An 80 power special attack with a 30% burn chance. A great combination of a decently powered attack plus a way to spread burn, and a way to burn even switch-ins that resist water. That enhances its power as an attack. One of the best moves in the game. And Toxapex losing this option was massive. And Toxapex in Gen 9 went from one of the strongest defensive Pokemon in the whole game to now more of a niche Pokemon. It's not nearly as popular as it once was. That's how significant losing Scald was. I think this meme is reasonably funny. There is an ironic humor to the usage of the troll face that is difficult to explain, but it is there. I will say I think the meme would be better if the final panel just had no text, it was just black with that face. Where is my Scald is perhaps overselling it, but if it was just textless, there would have been more humor to it, in my opinion. That would have... sometimes a picture speaks 1,000 words, and you don't need to say anything. I would put this meme in the top of the B tier. That seems appropriate. Up next, we've got Thuko, which is a funny meme I learnt about today when researching here. In this post, someone is asking what a good Terra type for a choice band Thuko would be. And Thuko appears to just be a generic-looking Neopet creature. Who is Thuko, you might ask? Well, this post is referencing another post that was not intended to be comedic as far as I know. It was a genuine post. The title of the post was Add Thuko, and it reads as follows. I think that he would be a very good Pokemon who is very powerful and can win against a lot. It counters the best ones, but it's not too powerful, in brackets, balanced. So it could still be an OU. He is a fighting type, so he's weak to Psychic and Fairy, but is super effective against Dark, Normal, Rock, and Steel. He is not Bug type. I hate Bug types, they stink. However, If Bug were a stronger type, then Thuko would surely be one, just based off visuals. He is not fairy type, too strong. And if pink is for girls, he is a team player. Or sometimes he isn't. He's cool that way, and he works on every team. He is not dark type, because that is too evil, and honestly a little scary sometimes. However, he can do dark type moves like slap off for coverage purposes. If you agree, let me know. This is my first post here, so I'm not really sure if this works. Thanks, with a smiley face. This post is simply proposing that a Pokemon called Thuko should be added to the game. And it's hard to tell if this is a joke or not. If it is, I think it's very well crafted and well written. If it's not a joke, I think it has a beautiful charm to it. That is very funny regardless. I like this one. And I also believe Thuko should be added. This post makes a compelling case for the existence of Thuko in the move Slap Off, which is surely a very powerful option. I think that Thuko is deserving of an S tier. I thought the post was very funny. And these subsequent posts that came after it insisting that Thuko is a real Pokemon. And what's a good set for Thuko, I think also adds to the humor of that. Up next we got this one, and this is an insane one. Pictured in the first panel is an iron moth behind a substitute, and then we got the cereal meme, which I'm fond of the cereal meme. I like the cereal meme, where the man spits out his cereal. Classic in my opinion. And he says, "Soldier of Christ, why art thou hidden?" He also saw a Dragapult for some reason. And then in the second panel, it is revealed that this was not an iron moth, but rather a Zoroark in disguise. And then the Dragapult spits out his cereal and he says, "The demon of Babylon disguises himself with the coat of the righteous." All I can explain about this is that I can explain two things. That Zoroark has the ability Disguise, which disguises it as another Pokemon. And when it's struck by an attack, its disguise is revealed and its true form is revealed. I can also tell you that the Pokemon Dragapult has the move Infiltrator, which bypasses a substitute, which explains why they were able to attack through the substitute and reveal the Pokemon that is actually Zoroark behind. As for the text here, I have not much explanation for you other than there being some terrible demonic connotations with disguising yourself as another being, or using the visage of another to deceive Pokemon in combat. It could incur some karmic debt, I guess. I guess we could say that. I'm going to put this one in A+, because it made me laugh. And it's as simple as that, really. It made me laugh, so I'm putting it in A+. Up next, we have a Seinfeld meme. Jerry Seinfeld is here, and he's asking Duraludon a question. He asks, "Duraludon, you're fighting children?" And Duraludon, as Kramer, replies, "We're all at the same evolution level, Jerry." This is referring to the Little Cup competitive format. Little Cup is a competitive format where you can only use the first Pokemon in an evolution line, and they have to be able to evolve. So the first stage in an evolution line, and they're also locked to level 5. So it's mostly baby Pokemon like Torchic and Pichu and other such babies fighting amongst each other. But Duraludon was initially not a first stage in an evolution line. It was made in Gen 8, where it was just a single stage Pokemon. But in Gen 9, Duraludon received a new evolution, Archaludon. And because of this, it now fit the criteria for Little Cup. It was the first Pokemon in an evolution line, and as long as it's level 5, it's Little Cup legal. And so Duraludon here would be able to just completely destroy all of the baby Pokemon who have terrible stats compared to Duraludon, and are also much smaller than it. I believe Duraludon was actually banned before it could even cause any havoc, because obviously this is a powerful Pokemon, too strong for the Little Cup metagame. I'm going to give this one a B+. I think it's a pretty funny one. A rather simple premise, though. It's not knocking my socks off, but it's pretty good. We've got another meme illustration here from Reddit user Mishu. And this is a good one. This is a proposition for a new regional form of Meganium called Calosian Meganium. And this is a Meganium that looks almost identical in its visual features to the Pokemon Incineroar. Wow, what a novel concept. All of its new moves are just all of the moves Incineroar can learn, including Fake Out and Will-O-Wisp and Parting Shot, etc. Incineroar's entire move pool is these proposed new moves for Calosian Meganium. You can also see on the left the proposed new evolution line. It starts out as a regular Chikorita, unchanged, just a normal Chikorita. And the middle stage is instead Red Bayleaf. Humorously stretched and pixelated. And then the final form, of course, is Colossian Meganium that looks suspiciously similar to Incineroar. They've also proposed a new hidden ability for Colossian Meganium as an alternative to Overgrow, and it is Evil Grow. This Pokemon's Evil Rage alters its types, acting as though it was a Fire-Dark type. It also lowers the opposing Pokemon's attack stats upon entry. You'll notice as well that the typing on this is Grass Fairy, but then of course due to the ability Evil Grow it will change into Fire Dark and then effectively have the ability Intimidate borrowed from Incineroar. If you look at the bottom left, you will also notice that these are the exact stats of Incineroar that are the proposed new stats for this novel new Meganium form. The joke is clear. To buff Meganium, you simply turn it into a better Pokemon, Incineroar. It's a simple joke, but I think all things considered is very well executed in this meme. There's a lot of funny little details. The image of the Meganium morphed into Incineroar is well done. I'm gonna go ahead and say this is an S tier meme. Even though it's an Incineroar related meme, but I said I hate those. This one's a good one. They actually made a funny Incineroar meme, can you believe it? Now here we have a Gen 3OU meme. This is my wheelhouse, folks. With a parody of a sequence from Dragon Ball Z. Here we have a Starmie looking up to some Gengars and Claydolls in the sky and saying, "How can a Pokemon fight like that and at the same time be so gentle that he would never hurt a Flygon? It makes me angry just thinking about it, but perhaps it is my anger that has made me blind to the truth. I see it now. This year has made it all too clear. You're better than me, Claydol. You're the best." This is an exchange between the characters Vegeta and Goku, where Vegeta has the unfortunate realization that Goku is more powerful, despite his kind-hearted nature, which Vegeta thought would hold him back. In this context, it is about Starmie and Claydol, who are rivals in Gen 3OU because they are both Rapid Spinners. They both have the move Rapid Spin, which removes hazards from the field, so they are competing for that utility slot. Over the years, Claydol has risen and risen as the more popular Rapid Spinner in Gen 3OU, and it's become one of the most used Pokemon in the metagame. This is because it has Levitate, granting complete immunity to ground and immunity to spikes as well. It's also immune to sand, meaning it can chip heal in the sand, and it has great defensive properties against Pokemon like Tyranitar, Zapdos, and Jolteon. Claydol also has the move Explosion, which lets it trade after it's at low health and really get a significant amount of value out of itself. Starmie is still good, but it is not nearly as popular as Claydol. I also enjoy the detail that he wouldn't hurt a Flygon, because Claydol can't hit Flygon very well. Flygon is immune to Earthquake and shrugs off Psychic, while Flygon toxics Claydol, but Flygon usually has a positive matchup against Claydol. While Starmie can hurt a Flygon because it has Ice Beam and Surf, or Hydro Pump. I think I put this one in the B+ tier. Subjectively, I find it quite funny. I enjoy how dramatic it is about the rather simple rivalry between two Rapid Spinners amplified with the Goku and Vegeta dynamic, and characterizing Starmie as jealous of Claydol's rise. Here we have another cereal one, except that the man spitting out his cereal is now King Gambit against an Iron Valiant. And he is saying that they will never click Encore. The Iron Valiant does click Encore, and then the King Gambit says again that they will never click Encore because they have just been subjected to an Encore and forced to repeat the last action they took, which is staying out loud that they will never click Encore. And then there is the visual effect of the Encore animation from the game with spotlights and confetti around King Gambit. Encore is a move that is really, really good against King Gambit specifically, because King Gambit uses the move Sucker Punch for priority. And Sucker Punch is a move that is really susceptible to Encore. Sucker Punch has priority on it, but it won't do any damage if the opponent does not use an attack. So if you use Encore and you force them to repeat Sucker Punch, as long as you just never attack them, they can't hurt you at all, and they're also forced to keep clicking Sucker Punch, so they're completely helpless. Encore is also good against King Gambit if they just clicked Swords Dance, because you would just be forced to repeatedly Swords Dance and be helpless as well. I don't know which came first, the Schrodinger's cat meme or this one, but the Schrodinger's cat meme I think did a better job with the Encore joke, making him repeat the whole complex thing he just said. This is kind of the same joke, but perhaps they arrived at that joke independently, so I don't know how to rate this, because there's a similar meme already here. I guess I'll put it in the B tier. That seems okay. That seems alright. Up next we got Kyurem as a dog, and he's saying, waiter, waiter, more of this Pokemon team, please. And the Pokemon team consists of a Garganacl, Corviknight, Blissey, Dondozo, Clodsire, and Gliscor. This is a typical stalled team. Stall is an archetype that maximizes defense, aiming to run the enemy out of resources by just walling them, healing over and over, and just running really defensive Pokemon. A lot of people dislike this strategy because it's frustrating to play against at times. But Kyurem is very good against Stall because of its excellent attacking stance. It has great physical and special attack. It's got options like a Dragon Dance to boost up. It has Freeze Dry as a ice type special attack that hits water, which is crucially great against Dondozo, who would otherwise wall its Dragon Dance set. It has Earth Power to hit Garganacl. It does good neutral damage to just about everything on this Stall team in question. This is why the dog, as Kyurem, is asking the waiter for more of this Stall team, please, because he's going to eat it up. He's going to very easily win against this matchup, because Kyurem is very good at tearing apart Stall, isn't it? I would put this meme image in the B tier as well, maybe. No, let's give this a B+. There's something funny about it that I can't quite put my finger on, but there's something about it. I like the format. I like the waiter more of this, please meme format for some reason. And next we have this meme image. we've got a Wheezing Galarian on the right here. Galarian Wheezing form with boots on, smoking a big cigar that says OU on it. The neutralizing gas is being expelled from the cigar itself, and Goldengo is absolutely seething in pure rage at the fact that its ability Good as Gold has been disabled. With the ability Neutralizing Gas, Galarian Wheezing in this image has disabled Goldengo's ability, allowing it to use Defog and remove hazards from the field. Goldengo can usually block Defog from happening with its ability, but that's why Wheezing Galar has risen up so much in Gen 9 OU as a counter to Goldengo. This is a beautiful image. This is an incredible image. Galarian Wheezing's facial expression is one of just effortless power. It is exuding an incredible aura. At least the main Wheezing face is. The second Wheezing face here has more of a somber tone, very, very sad at the state of affairs, and Goldengo is just furious at what has happened, crying and screaming about it. A Pokemon that relies heavily on its ability that has been disabled by the neutralizing gas. I cannot find the original artist for this. I found this, I don't remember where I found this image, but it's somewhere. I can't find the source of it. I've reverse image searched it. It's lost to time. Maybe someone out there knows who made this and can let me know. But this one's a master. It's incredible. It's an incredible image. We're putting that one in the S tier for absolute certain. Up next, we've got another series of tweets here. I've become very small to fit this on the screen, forgive me. This is from fellow YouTuber Electric Wind Girlfriend. And the first tweet here says, found a way to make using Grimmsnarl fun for everybody involved. And pictured is a Pokepaste set of Grimmsnarl, which is perfectly normal, except for the move Metronome. Metronome is a move that will simply execute a random move in the game. It is the most random move in Pokemon, I think. And Grimmsnarl can use Metronome with priority on it, because Metronome is considered a status move, so it gets priority from Prankster, and then executes a completely random move. So Electric Wind Girlfriend brought this to a tournament, a VGC tournament, and follows up with, holy F, I just rolled Horn Drill and hit it with Metronome Grimmsnarl to win a game. What the F, what the F? And then the tweet below is from the VGC player Asthmatic, who was knocked out of the tournament by this Grimmsnarl, and tweets completely separately, I went 1 and 2, y'all, I can't make this up. I lost to a Grimmsnarl that clicked Metronome, which became Horn Drill, and it connected. If you don't know what Horn Drill is, it is a move that has a 30% accuracy, so it's very inaccurate, but if it lands, it will one-hit KO the opponent. So this series of events is completely insane. Metronome, of all moves in the game to randomly use, it executed Horn Drill. I don't even know what the chances of getting specifically Horn Drill is out of all the moves in the game, but then on top of that, Horn Drill still has to land. It still has 30% accuracy, and it actually landed. The chances of this are so low I don't even know how to calculate it. It's probably the best possible outcome you can get out of Metronome, to just one-hit KO the enemy with priority. And the fact that this had a genuine tournament impact is just completely insane. This is one of the funniest sequences I've ever heard of happening in a genuine Pokemon tournament. And I'm going to put this one in the A+ tier for its comedic merit. Up next, we've got a meme illustrated by the Reddit user John without the H. And this is a wonderful image of the past Paradox form of Volcarona, Slitherwing, holding up the Pokemon Vulpix in a reference to the scene from The Lion King. You may be wondering why Slitherwing is doing this. Well, Slitherwing, just like all the other past Paradox Pokemon from Gen 9, has the ability Photosynthesis, which grants a boost to its highest stat in the sun. The problem is that Slitherwing is ranked in the RU tier, and all the good sun-setting Pokemon with Drought are in higher tiers. So the best option in the RU tier for a Pokemon that can set sun on the field is actually Vulpix, even though it's a baby Pokemon, the pre-evolution of Ninetales. Because it has the ability Drought, it is still competitively viable here, and the best option for synergy with Slitherwing. And this is why Slitherwing is holding up Vulpix as its new savior. I believe at the time of creating this image, Vulpix was the only Drought user available in RU. I believe since then the tiers have shifted. I'm not sure if Torkoal is now available or if Drought is completely banned. Many things happen in low tiers that I'm not always aware of. But this image is capturing a moment in time where Vulpix was the only Pokemon that could set sun available in the RU tier to synergize with Slitherwing. I think the artwork is good on this one. It's a funny joke and I would put it in A+. Up next, we got one of my favorites here. This is actually not even intended to be a meme. This is a sincere post proposing a buff to the Pokemon Zekrom and Reshiram, who are some of the weaker legendaries in Ubers historically. Here is a little presentation image from Reddit user AceBob11. It says buff theory and proposes various potential buffs for Zekrom and Reshiram, but the thing people attached themselves to in particular was the proposed buff of a new move called the Zekrom Kick for the Pokemon Zekrom. It actually has a pretty cool effect. It will deal dragon or electric type damage depending on whichever is more effective against the Pokemon. Quite a creative design there though. But the main takeaway people had from this was that the damn move is called Zekrom Kick. This very goofy name for a move is an inherent juxtaposition with the very serious and powerful legendary visual of Zekrom. And while many are pointing and laughing and saying they would never make a Zekrom Kick, I think they could, and I think that they should as well. I think Zekrom Kick would be a smart addition. I mean, if Zekrom were to do a kick, what else would it be called? It would be named after the man who came up with it. I mean, they call it Pythagoras' theorem, don't they? He made the theorem, and Zekrom made the kick. It's only fair to name it after him, I would say. In much the same way as the Thuko meme that I talked about earlier, people are now treating Zekrom Kick as if it is a real move and part of the reason to use Zekrom on a team. It is brought up quite often now in the community, and there are even follow-up memes about the famous Zekrom Kick. Here's one of my favorites, is his Shut Up Idiot Zekrom Kick. And there's Zekrom doing the titular Zekrom Kick against an opponent who is stupid enough to face him. I mean, how could you? I'm going to put Zekrom Kick in the S tier. I think it's a funny joke born of a sincere moment that is... And this is the heart of comedy itself, is everyone coming together and laughing at a beautiful moment. I guess I'll just use this image to represent the Zekrom Kick rather than this one. We'll put that one at the bottom there. Here we have another one about Gen 3 OU, and here's the Stop Doing X meme format. I don't know where this one came from, but I see it from time to time. And this one says, Stop Doing Gen 3 OU. Past gens were not supposed to be given viability ranking. Years of toxic Sandstorm and Spikes, yet no real-world use found for metagames with no team preview. Wanted to button pass anyway for a laugh? We had a tool for that, it was called Anything Goes. Yes, please, give me physical offense archetype. Please give me 6 Pokemon immune to ground. These are statements dreamed up by the utterly deranged. Look at what community contributors have been demanding your respect for all this time. With all the damage calculator and usage stat we built for them. This is real sets done by real moderators, and then pictured are some Gen 3 OU sets, including a Claydol with its most popular EV spread, where it has minus special attack nature, but then it invests in special attack anyway. Blissey with Ice Beam and special attack investment, and an Electrode with a Lychee Berry. I don't know where this one came from. This set is insane. The Lychee Berry Electrode with Explosion Thunder Wave, and some attack and some special attack. I've never seen this set in my life, I'm going to be honest. And then underneath it has some question marks. And finally, hello, I would like Choice Band Explosion, please. They have played us for absolute fools. Now, what in the world is this meme image talking about? What is happening here? Well, Gen 3 OU is a pretty strange metagame with weird sets and mechanics that can be a bit confusing when you first play. I think this meme is just trying to convey that. I don't know why they say that past gens were not supposed to be given viability ranking. A viability ranking is basically a tier list of the best Pokemon in a format, and I don't see why past generations of Pokemon should not have them. Toxic Sandstorm and Spikes is the most popular team archetype in Gen 3, and it's pretty self-explanatory. You use these three mechanics, Toxic, Sandstorm, and Spikes, to slowly wear down the opponent and eventually win a battle. There is no team preview in Gen 3, meaning that when you start the game, you cannot see what Pokemon your opponent has until they switch them in. So there's an element of hidden information and trying to guess what your opponent has, and also disguise what you have. And that's a part of the format, a part of the gameplay. This line here is referring to the fact that Baton Pass is a legal move in Gen 3, whereas in most generations it's completely banned. Baton Pass is often game-breaking in competitive singles with these Baton Pass chains that can accrue every boost in the game and just sweep every single time. So it's usually just outright banned, but in Gen 3 it's not. There's just restrictions on how it can be used. And it says we had a tool for that, it was called Anything Goes. That's because Anything Goes is a format where there are no rules and Baton Pass is legal. So comparing Anything Goes with Gen 3 as if they are both some sort of lawless Wild West where Baton Pass is allowed. Physical Offense archetype is a team style in Gen 3 that revolves around the Pokemon Magneton, who eliminates enemy Skarmory, who's the main physical wall, and then once Skarmory is eliminated, you use physical attackers to win the game from there. That's simply what that is. And it says, please give me 6 Pokemon immune to ground. This is a genuine team style in Gen 3 where you stack as many ground immune Pokemon as you can to try and ignore spikes, because spikes are so popular that it's actually quite good to just run a bunch of Pokemon immune to spikes and ignore them instead of trying to rapid spin. This team archetype is called Superman because it uses a lot of flying Pokemon with levitate or flying typing to ignore spikes. Usually you don't actually run 6 Pokemon immune to ground. Usually it's more like 4 Pokemon and then 2 grounded Pokemon like Jirachi or Tyranitar or something, but there are teams with 6 Pokemon immune to ground. It can happen. Now this Claydol set here is the standard Claydol set, and the reason it runs a minus special attack nature while investing in a bit of special attack anyway is for a funny reason. It still wants speed, so it wants to be able to outrun a Metagross without any investment. So if you go minus speed nature, you can't hit that benchmark. So you kind of awkwardly have to subtract from a stat that you use. So special attack is the best candidate because it's the lowest base stat. But then you still need enough damage from Psychic, which is a special attack, to 2-hit KO defensive Gengar in the sand. So that's exactly why you have 32 special attack EVs in particular, which gives you just enough to KO just Gengar. It's only for Gengar. It's a weird set, but Gen 3 is a metagame where you can afford to just randomly run a little bit of EVs for some random matchup, and that could be worth it. The Blissey set is cool, because in Gen 3, Blissey often runs special attacks, and is actually a more aggressive Pokemon than you would think. Ice Beam is the most common special attack it runs, and it runs special attack investment to be able to one-hit KO Dugtrio usually. I don't know if this particular set does one-hit KO Dugtrio. Maybe certain Dugtrios. But if Blissey does not have special attack investment in Ice Beam, Dugtrio can easily eliminate it. And also it makes it more proactive against switch-ins like Celebi. Deals pretty good damage to Swampert. Can one-hit KO Flygon. Can even one-hit KO Salamence. And check Salamence pretty well. Even though Blissey is a special wall, it can be a Salamence check. So that's why it's running this special attack with Ice Beam, which is kind of weird on a special wall in most generations, but in Gen 3 this happens. As for this Electrode set, I don't know what this is from. I think this might be one of those outdated sets from like 10 years ago that is still on the Smogon analysis page and that they just never got rid of. This set seems terrible. Electrode's not commonly used, and if you do run it, I don't think you would run a Lechi Berry. Maybe you would. I don't know. The main way I see Electrode used these days is for Rain Dance. You can set Rain Dance and explode and go to Kingdra. I've also seen like Light Screen explode into a Dragon Dance Salamence. But I have not seen this one. This is a bizarre one. And here it says, hello, I would like Choice Band Explosion, please. This is referring to the fact that Metagross utilizes Choice Band and Explosion to sacrifice itself, and it does enough damage to actually one-hit KO Skarmory, the main physical wall. So that's a way to lure in and eliminate Skarmory with Choice Band Metagross Explosion. I don't think this one is that weird. I think in Gen 4 you can run Choice Band Explosion on some things. What's so wrong with Choice Band Explosion? Now, where would I rank this meme? I don't know how much I like this stop doing X meme format. It's another one where you sort of just replace words with other words. Some elements of the meme are funny though, and I think it does a good job conveying the confusion of playing Gen 3 OU and being new to the format. I would probably put this one in the C tier though, if I'm being honest. Up next, another illustrated meme by SP Crash Works. This one says, can you survive 5 turns in Trick Room? And then there are various Pokemon looking very sinister with red eyes, evil intent filling their souls. This is a clever image, a reference to the video game Five Nights at Freddy's, famous game. I've never played it, but I am aware that there is a character in the game called Freddy Fazbear, one of the evil animatronics that kills you. And there is a clear parallel between Freddy Fazbear and the Pokemon Ursaluna, both are bears. So there's a connection. Ursaluna is commonly used on Trick Room teams because it is very slow but very offensively powerful. Trick Room is a status condition that inverts the speed stat, so the slower Pokemon moves first. Trick Room also lasts for 5 turns. So much like there being 5 nights at Freddy's that you must survive, you also must survive 5 turns of Trick Room when Trick Room is activated, and Freddy Fazbear the Ursaluna is in the prime of his career. The other Pokemon featured in the image are popular Pokemon on Trick Room teams as well, like Cresselia, Magiana, and King Gambit. I think this is an excellent one. Well executed all around. I'm going to give it the S tier rank. Here we have another one. It says, what did you use to succeed? Then pictured there is Salamence. Next to Salamence it says, great moveset that allows it to be support, tank, special, mixed, physical attacker, or sweeper. One of the best abilities in competitive play, and one of the most broken Mega Evolutions ever made. Then there is Garchomp underneath, looking unbothered, in a humorous mimetic fashion. Then it says, being 2 points faster than the dude above. This is referring to the fact that Garchomp has a base speed stat of 102, just 2 points faster than Salamence, who has base 100. A lot of Pokemon, a lot of good Pokemon, happen to have base 100 speed. So a lot of Garchomp's viability does come from the fact that it is just a little bit faster than that. Those 2 points of speed make a massive difference. And it is a pretty incredible speed benchmark for competitive. I must say though, I think that this meme is perhaps underselling the excellence of Garchomp in other areas. I think that, honestly, Garchomp also has an excellent moveset that allows it to be support, tank, special, mixed, or physical attacker, or sweeper. Garchomp has Swords Dance sets, it has Stealth Rock for utility, tank sets with Spikes and Dragon Tail, mixed options like Fire Blast and Draco Meteor, and straight up physical options, Choice Band, Choice Scarf. I also think that Garchomp has a great ability. Rough Skin is really good, punishing enemies for making contact. And Garchomp is tanky enough to make that ability work. Garchomp's other ability, Sand Veil, is also so powerful that it's banned. Now, Garchomp does not have a very good Mega Evolution, although it does have a new good one, Mega Garchomp Z, in the recent game. It is humorous that much of Garchomp's viability does stem from its slightly higher speed stat than many base 100s, but to say that that's the only thing is dishonest, in my opinion. Garchomp has many traits that are admirable, including its typing, move pool abilities, etc. I would honestly put this one in the F tier. I don't think it's very humorous, and I also think that it's a little bit untrue. It's sort of stretching the truth to make the joke work, which I believe is inelegant. Here we have another Generation 3 meme. It is the classic one, where Squidward is looking outside of his house to see SpongeBob and Patrick having great fun in the outdoors while he is trapped inside, basking in his own misery. In this meme image we have Cacturn representing Squidward looking out upon Roselia and Glalie as they are setting spikes all around. What could it mean? Well, in Generation 3, all of these Pokemon are ranked in the NU tier, and yet they have had time in the sun in the OU tier for niche reasons. Roselia has risen up as a unique spike setter with access to Leech Seed and a defensive grass typing, meaning it can wall Pokemon like Milotic and Zapdos. These are unique traits for a spike setter. And even though its stats are terrible, this is enough for it to have some niche value in Gen 3. Glalie has had a similar rise, even though it is a mono ice type with very bad stats as well. Glalie has seen use as a offensive spike setting lead because ice typing actually happens to match up pretty nicely against common lead matchups. With Stab Ice Beam you threaten Salamence, you also threaten Zapdos, and you are neutral against a lot of common attacks versus special attacking leads like Suicune, and you're just bulky enough to survive a Fire Blast from Salamence too. With a Salakberry you can also stomach hits and then outrun and use Explosion to trade with enemies. Glalie also has Taunt, which is good against leads like Skarmory and Forretress aiming to set their own spikes. Cacturn used to be used in Gen 3 for its frankly overpowered ability Sandveil, which grants an evasion boost while Sandstorm is active and also grants an immunity to Sandstorm damage. With this base evasion that is easily acquired because permanent sand is up in almost every game, Cacturn could repeatedly spam Substitute until it dodged an attack and then set layers of spikes pretty freely while also getting extra progress from Leech Seed and sometimes even using the move Pine Needle. What's the move it has? It's not called Pine Needle. It has some move that Needle Arm that has a flinch chance on it, a grass move with a flinch chance. So it has flinch chance and evasion to just dodge justice at every turn. Eventually Sandveil was banned, and therefore Cacturn was illegal to use because its only ability is Sandveil. So that's why Cacturn is looking upon Roselia and Glalie, who are happily enjoying their niche as spike setters in Gen 3 OU while it has been banished behind these bars in a very poetic turn of events, with the bars representing its imprisonment. This is a rather simple meme, but I think it's a pretty funny one. I'd give it the respect of an A tier ranking. Up next we've got this one, the Horse Council. Now who could have made a stupid image like this? It says the Horse Council at the top of the screen, and then there are various Pokemon convening in a meeting area. Appears to be Lon Lon Ranch from the Ocarina of Time for the 3DS video game. This one is just stupid. This has got to be an F tier, right? This is my own creation that has really taken on a life of its own. You guys love my Horse Council joke. This all started because I noticed one day that the Pokemon Macago has the move High Horsepower in its moveset, which I thought was very funny. Why would Macago have high horsepower in its moveset? It's not even fast, it doesn't generate much horsepower, it's not a horse either. Horse Pokemon often get high horsepower. This is Macago, it's clearly a snail. So I thought it would be funny to somehow incorporate this into my videos. How could Macago's having high horsepower somehow fit into a joke? So I created something called the Horse Council, which is a fictional organization of horses that exist, and the plot thread that Macago wanted to apply to become part of the Horse Council, using the evidence that it has high horsepower and is therefore a horse and can join the council. And this spiraled into a whole storyline where it got accepted in, but then they changed the law to disallow high horsepower being a horse criteria. I also, for some reason, said that horses run the world government and that there was a civil war between horses. Horsey is considered a horse even though it's a seahorse, which is technically a different animal. There was an election at one point. And I will admit that this was partly inspired by the Game of Thrones YouTuber Glidus, who has a joke on his channel where he theorizes that certain characters from the Song of Ice and Fire book series are actually horses, and I think this stems from a real theory that the character Khal Drogo became a horse. I believe that's an actual theory with real evidence, although I can't remember what the evidence is. I think I knew at one point. I think this meme is very poor quality, doesn't even make any sense. Why would a snail be a horse? It's just illogical. I think logic is the real root of all comedy. So there's nowhere else to put this one but the F tier. Horse Council, very stupid meme, very silly. If you make a meme like that, I think you're morally deplorable. Here is a meme image where the text says, "Look who giving me my McDonald's." LMAO. And then we have the McDonald's worker, who is the Pokemon Amoonguss, handing this individual their order from fast food restaurant McDonald's. Why would Amoonguss be working at McDonald's? I believe the insinuation here is that after this sleep ban in Gen 9, where all sleep moves were completely banned, the viability of Amoonguss plummeted, and therefore Amoonguss would no longer be able to work at his regular job of, I guess, the OU tier, which is a career path in this fictional world created by this Reddit user. And so as a result of losing the one thing that made Amoonguss any good, which was the move Spore, which inflicts sleep with a 100% accuracy, Amoonguss is now going to have to take an entry-level position at a fast food restaurant in the meantime to rethink his career path, which I think is a fine thing to do for Amoonguss, and I think it's a bit rude to insult Amoonguss, for it wasn't his fault that sleep got banned. It was the fault of Darkrai and Iron Valiant. As usual, the elites of society, like Iron Valiant, are the cause of suffering for the honest, hard-working Amoonguss, and now we're blaming Amoonguss for having to work at McDonald's, and there's nothing wrong with working at McDonald's either, I think. Somebody has to create the McChicken. I'm gonna put this one in the B+ tier. I think it's funny, but it's a bit mean-spirited towards Amoonguss, who I believe is a morally upstanding Pokemon, an honest Pokemon. Here we have what appears to be Tyranitar, the Pokemon, in Paris, France, and it says underneath his visage, Tyrannisif. I got this from a Doodle North video thumbnail. I often refer to Tyranitar as Tyrannisif, and people ask me what the hell I'm talking about. Here's your explanation, okay? I'm going to explain it to you so that you understand why I do this. Tyrannisif is the French name for Tyranitar. This was a bit of a meme, specifically in the Gen 3 community, because one of the best players in the game, McMegan, would often nickname all of his Pokemon after their French nicknames, such as Ectoplasma for Gengar and Airmure for Skarmory, and most famously, Tyrannisif for Tyranitar, because Tyranitar is the most common and popular Pokemon in Gen 3. The nickname usage became iconic because of McMegan, but then also it became an identifier of McMegan on the ladder. If you matched against a Tyranitar named Tyrannisif, this was an indication that perhaps you were facing against McMegan, and you were in for a difficult battle, a bit of a boss fight, because McMegan is an excellent player. But then it evolved to Tyrannisif just being used all the time, because McMegan would post his teams on the forums and people would copy them, and then you just see Tyrannisif all the time on the ladder. Not because it's McMegan playing, but because it's people copying McMegan's teams. So if you see Tyrannisif, you know it's the McMegan team, and you can go look up the exact Pokepaste from the forums and know who you're facing. Then it went a step further, and players just started nicknaming their Tyranitar Tyrannisif, not because they're copying a McMegan team, because they're pretending to copy a McMegan team. And they're trying to trick the opponent into thinking they're running the McMegan team from the forums, when in fact they're just calling their guy Tyrannisif. Eventually, players just started referring to Tyranitar as Tyrannisif. It became the new name for the Pokemon, eventually shortened to just Sif as a shorthand. And this is why I always call the Tyranitar Tyrannisif. And in my personal life, this evolved to just calling everything Sif. I once played against a player on my stream who named all their Pokemon like Swamp Sif and Jirachi Sif and Zapdos Sif. I just put Sif at the end of everything. So now I just call absolutely anything that exists, I just put Sif at the end. And really all Pokemon are just basically variants of Sif, who is the ultimate Pokemon, isn't he? Tyrannisif is the ultimate Pokemon. So all other Pokemon are living in his shadow, and therefore just sub-Sifs of the primary Sif, aren't they? I do apologize if Tyrannisif and me putting Sif at the end of words has caused confusion for any of you. It is nonsensical if you don't know the full context, and how could you know the full context unless you were there, experiencing these events as they happened? I'm gonna put Sif in the S tier because I use it all the time, and I think it's funny. Even though it's not even a joke, really. It's just the French name of a Pokemon that people used because a good player used it, and it just evolved from there. But perhaps that's the ultimate humor is that which evolves organically, I think. I think that organic humor deserves an S tier, and putting Sif at the end of words is actually the peak of comedy in my eyes. It also just sounds good. It's just a mimetic phrase. There's something thrilling about putting Sif at the end of a word and just saying Tyrannisif. It's a beautiful word. Truly a masterpiece in French translation. I'd commend the French Pokemon team for conceiving of the name Tyrannisif. They've done excellent work and have really bolstered my career with that one. Here we have a recent meme. Pictured on the left is the Pokemon Scovillain with its stat spread pictured, and then Mega Scovillain on the right, stepping further back in the frame and having slightly higher stats, with a before and after to indicate a change. But then there's a humorous Snapchat superimposed caption that says, "He ain't do nothing but step back," laughing emoji. The intent of this meme is simply to convey that Mega Scovillain is not very good, and perhaps even worse than its base form because it requires a Mega Stone and is not that much better. So he has not done anything except for step back. I think this original image is quite funny. A before and after image where the person has just stepped back in the frame is a good one. And it fits well here. I'm going to give this the A tier. It's simple, but it made me laugh anyway. Here we have another illustrated meme from StrangeSock1760 on Reddit. In the first panel is Tyranitar, yet again, with a choice band laid across his head. And he says, "Yo, long time no see." In the second panel we have Zapdos, Goldengo, and Dragapult looking very shocked, saying, "For real?" In the final panel is a screenshot from the Smogon tiering shift, where Tyranitar did recently rise from UU to OU. "For real, I feel like new," says Tyranitar in the final panel. I believe this is traced from a manga of some sort. It might be Jujutsu Kaisen, looks like that art style. This is simply depicting the shock and awe of OU Pokemon Zapdos, Goldengo, and Dragonite, seeing their old rival rise back up to OU by usage yet again, which happened in the January tier shift. Tyranitar's rise back up to OU was a cool moment for a lot of people. Probably solidified Tyranitar as the greatest competitive Pokemon of all time, if this usage does maintain for the remainder of Gen 9 anyway. And I think this is a good meme. I especially like the second panel, the shocked OU staples. Zapdos in particular is quite a good rendition. I like the shocked expression there, very emotive. I would give this a solid A tier. Now this next meme is completely absurd. I'm not even entirely sure what this is supposed to convey, but I will explain the elements of it the best I can. This might be the most incomprehensible meme of the whole video. I got no idea what I'm looking at. But it appears to be a Pyukumuku punching a Ferrothorn at the bottom there with a big real human fist. A Ferrothorn has got X's in the eyes, representing its defeat. At the top of the screen has got a showdown damage calculator text paste where a max attack life orb Pyukumuku max knuckle is being used against Ferrothor with a critical hit after 3 layers of spikes, which would KO if there were 3 layers of spikes up. It's funny that it doesn't even KO if there's no layers of spikes. It's 97.6% maximum damage. Anyway, then there is a bunch of text assorted from various images, including Sonic and Knuckles, and what appears to be Game Boy Advance logo. Is that Age of Empires? It by Stephen King? What are we even doing? And it says, by using the spikes to Pyukumuku's advantage, it can Dynamax and use Max Knuckle to defeat Ferrothorn and sweep all of OU. This is kind of funny because Pyukumuku famously doesn't learn any attacking moves, it only learns support moves. But it does have the move Counter, which is not a traditional attack, it just reflects damage back to the opponent. But it is still counted as a fighting type attack. And so if Pyukumuku Dynamaxes, I believe it can use Counter to transform into Max Knuckle, and that's the only way it can use any sort of attack. And so for Pyukumuku to be able to KO Ferrothorn, it needs to get a critical hit, be max attack with Life Orb, use Max Knuckle Dynamax, and then also have 3 layers of spikes up that chip it into range of the critical hit damage. And this is also a 0 HP Ferrothorn with minus defense, which of course you would never see in your life. Of course Ferrothorn would never run minus defense. But this is the specific instance where Pyukumuku would be able to KO famous defensive Pokemon Ferrothorn. I think this meme is a pretty nice work of abstract expression, and I would put it in the A+ tier for its sheer absurdity. And the final meme image I will show here today is the world famous Iron Mugulus. A brilliant meme that must have been created by some sort of genius-level mind. Ironmugulus is a fictional, future paradox form of the Pokemon Sinistea, who is a little cup, but in the future becomes a mug with robot arms, robotic eyes, and an angry and hate-fueled facial expression, brimming with pure rage. It is an electric normal type with the ability Quark Drive, and some okay stats for the Gen 9 RU tier. Base 180 special attack is probably not going to cut it in OU, but it's alright for RU. If you're not aware, I created this, and the reason I created this was as a parody of the Pokemon Ironjugulus, who was a real Pokemon, the future robot version of Hydreigon that I personally believe is one of the worst Pokemon designs ever created. Ironjugulus is a completely ridiculous name. It's just robotic Hydreigon. The visual design is quite soulless, I think. And Ironjugulus kind of represents everything wrong with many of the future Paradox Pokemon designs and general weird direction of Pokemon, in my opinion anyway. Ironjugulus absolutely embodies all of that. So Ironmugulus is my sick and twisted creation that is an exaggerated parody of the future Paradox Pokemon designs, that all have iron at the front of their name awkwardly and are just like a weird description, like Iron Moth and Iron Hands. It's quite a bizarre thing they did, isn't it? I think it's really weird. I think it's really weird. So I made Ironmugulus in a random spark of inspiration in about 5 seconds, just to get my feelings out there about the future Paradox Pokemon, and this is apparently the peak of my entire life, is making this image. This is what I'm known for. This is all I'll ever be known for, is making Ironmugulus. I will never reach such creative brilliance ever again as I did in that 5 seconds when I conceived of this in a spike of divine inspiration, perhaps from the great muses of Greek mythology that instilled me with the brilliance that ended up flourishing and becoming Ironmugulus. It's truly a work of parody and social critique that no one could hope to match, if I had to guess. And for that reason, this is probably the most incredible Pokemon meme ever created, and I would go ahead and create a new tier called S+. I would give it a special color like a light green, and then I would put Ironmugulus right there, crowning and towering over the competition with those demonic and villainous eyes. What could he be plotting this time? What could Ironmugulus be up to this time? That devious little schemer, always up to something, aren't you? Always up to something. And that does it, folks. There's my meme tier list. There are, of course, many more competitive Pokemon memes in existence. I cannot scarcely rank every single Pokemon meme ever made, but I picked some ones that I thought were cool that I found on the internet. And if you created some of the ones that I ranked low here, do forgive me. I'm not trying to be rude. It's just my honest thoughts, but I commend you for putting yourself out there, making a funny image that evidently many people got some joy out of and had a laugh at. And that's more valuable than my critique of the meme here. What did you think of my ranking, folks? Do you agree or disagree with my placements? Humor is subjective after all. Comedy is subjective. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments, and thank you for watching.